About 2 months ago, I started working on a brand new project, determined to finally finish what I had begun after twice abandoning earlier games. I was sure this time I would complete it. The game is called The Disc, and little did I know how many obstacles I would face, how much content I would have to scrap, and how much the vision would change. When I was thinking about the game's concept, I was inspired to create something simple yet beautiful. I wanted to make a game without the usual race for points. The goal was to immerse the player in the atmosphere of a beautiful hand-drawn world. During the first few days I focused on drawing concept art for different locations. Once the idea was clear, I began creating a prototype in Godot. I wrote a simple character control script, but for now, the character is just a black capsule. I worked on making the controls responsive and experimented with collisions. Of course, it didn't go without bugs. I also tried creating a forest level. First, I placed all the collisions to test how the level felt, then started drawing obstacles and arranging them. However, the forest didn't turn out well. The collisions were glitchy in some places, and the graphics, well, were not bad but not good enough either. So later, this forest design was scrapped and replaced with a new one, which I will show you in a minute. About 2 weeks into development, I decided the game needed enemies. I had some concepts for them and started creating prototypes. At first, they were just white moving squares, but later I drew animations for them. To fight off enemies, I added a shooting ability for the player. After establishing the prototype and basic mechanics, I began experimenting with sound effects. Since the game's feel depends not only on graphics but also on sounds and music, I spent a lot of time designing sounds. By designing, I mean combining a few free sound effects I downloaded. This process still took a lot of time because I had to make the sounds fit the game's graphics and atmosphere, which was very important. A month into development, I decided it was time to create the main character and start drawing him. This was one of the most important parts, as the player interacts with the world through him. There were many concept arts, and it was crucial to make the character alive and expressive. He would be black and white, with hand-drawn frame-by-frame animations. This is his final design. Once it was ready, I started drawing animations for idle jumping, running, and falling. Drawing all these animations took a whole day, but that wasn't all. The character has a scarf, which is supposed to be his main memorable element. However, if you look very closely at the character in-game, he has no scarf, so I had to draw additional animation frames specifically for the scarf. For now, this is what we have. Earlier I said that I will show you the current forest design, and now it's time to do it. I added more blue colors to the environment, and now the forest looks like this. It is already pretty good, and maybe it will go to the final version of the game. At this stage I've had a few levels, enemies and a player. But when I combined them, everything doesn't feel good. All the levels were designed to have enemies, but the player could just kill them from distance with no difficulties, or just get around them. All the time I knew that the levels felt too boring to complete, but thought that it will magically change later. But it didn't. The levels remained boring and unmemorable, and then the enemies were out of style. So I had to make a hard decision, remove all the enemies, and therefore scrap all the levels I made before. If I got to keep them, I would have to completely change and redraw them, because they were designed to have enemies, and without them they are just completely empty. So it is easier to make them fully from scratch than to try fixing them. I decided to improve different aspects of the game, its graphics. Locations now have large empty spaces with no obstacles or enemies, where the player can just enjoy the atmosphere created with a unique combination of art and sound. This allowed the game to be more visually attractive and create a feeling of a world with no tension.